back to Finding Melvina Massey. I'm your host, Mackenzie Reynolds. In this episode, my uncles visit the City Hall and the Courthouse in Fargo. They're looking for property records for Melvina Massey.
Today we're here at 203rd Street North, Fargo, North Dakota at the City Hall. We're going to try to go in and find out a little bit more about Melvina Massey and her relatives. We're going to attempt to look at the deeds and see if we can uncover any new information. Tried to get the deeds from the City Hall here, and it turns out they don't hold those records here, so I was redirected to 211 9th Street South for all the deeds and records. So let's go take a look. So here we are at 211 9th Street South, Cass County Courthouse, where we're going to go in and we're going to attempt to get some property deeds on Melvina Massey, see what we can dig up. So let's go.
Selling both of them, you know what I mean? Like so close together, like she's in the on two different pages, like, almost back to back.
Massey got her.
Already?
Grantor is H.C. Rayo.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably when she took it back then?
Probably.
Like how when she got the house property back?
Well, just getting out of the Cass County Courthouse. Got some great information on Melvina Massey. Let's go off to the next location.
While at the courthouse, my uncles came across some deeds that related to Melvina, her husband, and her son, Henry.
Although we were told there were many property records related to Melvina, we only found a fraction of them during our short time at the courthouse. The earliest we were able to place Melvina in the city of Fargo, North Dakota was 1891. The city directory of that year tells us that her residence was located at 118 3rd Street North. And at that time, she was living with a handful of individuals, such as Elmo Anderson, Pearl Adams, and Estella Dorsey. There was also a musician by the name of Coleman Butler living there as well. Now, we didn't come across a deed for 118 3rd Street North, but the city directory identifies the property as Melvina's residence, while everyone else is listed as a boarder. The earliest deed we find for Melvina was for a property sold by Christ Hanson Rudd on December 2nd, 1891. The cost was $500. The description in the deed says that the property started at the southwest corner of Lot 1 within Block 12 of Keeney Divots. The deed goes on to measure out a plot of land that's 50 feet by 100 feet. This property, which seems to be 201 3rd Street North, is labeled as a female boarding house. And from what we were told, that was a euphemism used for brothels during that time. And that being the case, Melvina's previous residence at 118 3rd Street North could have also been a brothel as early as 1888. Now, what's really interesting about the property at 201 3rd Street North is that the deed has a John Massey listed as one of the witnesses to the purchase.
So who was John Massey? We're thinking he may have been a relative of Melvina.
In March of 1892, the Daily Huronite, a newspaper out of South Dakota, reported that a fire had destroyed a sporting house owned by Melvina Massey. The article goes on to say that 2 men were in the house and were very drunk, and that one, William Davis, burned to death in the fire. We have maps of the area for the years of 1892, 1896, 1901, and 1905. So we tried to see if we could identify which building burned down. The 1892 map shows that the house at 201 3rd Street North was still standing. But the 1896 map shows only the adjacent property at 217 2nd Ave North. In 1901, the house at 201 3rd Street North is still missing and doesn't appear again until the 1905 map. So it's possible that the 3rd Street North home was the one that burned down, and that Melvina built the adjacent home at 217 2nd Ave North to serve as her new residence. We also came across a property transaction between Melvina and her husband Harry C. Ray. On May 14th, 1906, Melvina sells her property at 217 2nd Ave North to Ray for $1. This property was built sometime after 1892 and consisted of the easternmost 45 feet of her lot. But based on a case that reached all the way to the North Dakota Supreme Court, it seems that Harry was actually trying to cheat Melvina out of her property. In the case, Melvina claims that when she was very ill, her husband had approached her asking that she sign a follow-up eviction notice for tenants of one of her properties. In reality, Melvina was signing a deed transferring her property to her husband. She didn't notice until 2 or 3 weeks after recovering from her sickness. Melvina testifies in court that she had never intended to transfer her property to her husband, nor did she receive any payment for the property. But it seems Melvina may have wanted to go easy on her husband. She requested an amendment to her complaint to remove allegations of fraudulent activity on behalf of her husband, and instead claimed that she signed the deed by mistake due to sickness. With respect to Melvina's health at the time, it's mentioned that she was so sick that she had to be propped up to sign the deed and the eviction notice. Even the sheriff didn't believe she would live too much longer. Health issues aside, the fact that Melvina was a brothel owner had the potential to hurt her case. Yet in the end, Melvina was granted a new trial, although her previous one was initially dismissed. Now, we didn't uncover what happened during the retrial, but in March of 1909, we do see that Harry Ray sells the property to Melvina for $500. And in the margin of the deed, though hard to make out, it seems to include some kind of condition that after Melvina dies, the property goes back to her husband Harry. While at the courthouse, we also came across a transaction between Melvina and her son Henry. On October 7th, 1907, Melvina sells her property at 201 3rd Street North to her son for $1. Although the description of the property is hard to read, it seems to consist of the westernmost 55 feet of Melvina's lot. This includes the home at 201 3rd Street North, also known as the brothel called the Crystal Palace. So during our time at the courthouse, We learned a bit about Melvina's homes at 201 3rd Street North and 217 2nd Ave North. Though we managed to track down some of Melvina's earliest properties in the city of Fargo, we still have some digging to do to uncover just who Melvina Massey was.
That does it for this episode. Stay tuned for future episodes of Finding Melvina Massey. Bye!